Hello everyone, Arlisha here and welcome to another video. It's been a few months since I've sat down in my sketchbook for a video, and I was doing some looking around in my current sketchbooks, and it's actually just been a long time since I've used a sketchbook in general. The one we're using today, you will have seen the first few pages in my last video. This is the sketchbook from Blue Pine Arts, and I wanted to do a bit of thumbnailing today, and I also wanted to just paint a little bit. So when it comes to creating thumbnails for future pieces, I really like to use not a pencil. So here I'm using these brush marker pens, but I also really like to just use like a fountain pen or something that is permanent and will not allow me to spend too much time working on the thumbnail, and also something that will allow me to change the pressure that I'm applying to get just a variation of brush strokes to kind of better imitate the painting process so that I can think about values as well, and that's really helpful. I like working on thumbnails in this permanent way because it keeps me from making them too perfect while still getting in the big shapes and the general values for something that will hopefully be a painting at some point. I did several little thumbnails on this particular page on this day, and I really like 2 of the 3 that I did, so hopefully in the future you'll get to see those turned into paintings. This first one here is probably my favorite, I think. I always have this nagging voice in the back of my head telling me that I need to spend more time in my sketchbook, and I was thinking about it before I recorded the voiceover for this video and was asking myself why I don't work in my sketchbook as often, and the answer can seem, I don't know, a little sad, I guess, but it's really not. The truth is that I don't make art as a hobby very much anymore, which can make it seem like, oh, all the art I do is for work or is business related, and that puts a weird kind of connotation on the entire experience that isn't really there. It's really that I do have dedicated art time, and I love that time, and then I feel really fortunate to get to share it in a way that supports my family, and it feels extra special in that way. And it's also given me freedom to explore other hobbies that in the past, when I was putting so much pressure on myself to be a better artist and to log all of the practice time and to put all of the work in, I wasn't allowing myself time for other things. Like, I've been reading more books in the past year. I've read maybe 10 books in the past year, which for me is a lot. I reread all of the Harry Potter books, and I've been reading a few other things as well, and that's been really fun. I've also just been getting into other hobbies, other things in other times, and it's been really nice, and it actually allows me to have a healthier mindset when it is time to sit down and make art, because I can dedicate that productive energy in a way that feels more natural and less forced for me. So in some ways I feel like I'm not, I'm not participating in that hustle of constantly making artwork and constantly documenting my progress and my improvement, but I'm enjoying what I make a lot more because I'm trying really hard not to put as much stress on myself when it comes to actually making art. The process for the actual painting that I have to show you today, which is just the other side of this sketchbook spread, the page on the other side, it definitely didn't go the way I expected it to. I had an idea in mind and a couple reference images I was looking at, and my main goals were to focus on the outer silhouette of the head shape and then fill that in loosely and just hint at some of the features with lots of, wet on wet blending of colors and just small points of contrast. And I don't really think I did that as much as I wanted to. And it was actually not until I was editing this video. I had put all the clips together, I had edited everything, and I was just about to sit down to do this voiceover. And I was looking at the painting at the end, and I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. It just felt like it was not as exciting or as honest as I wanted it to be. Like, it didn't really capture, I don't know, what I wanted to be on that page and what I wanted to look back on in this particular sketchbook page. So I was sitting here in this exact position thinking, am I really going to stop the last stage of this painting, or the last stage of this video making process, and go work on the painting more? I mean, and of course that brings up the question of, what if I ruin it? What if I ruin the painting? Because the way it stopped on the first day was fine, and it was okay, but it didn't really answer the question I wanted to ask, and it didn't really fulfill for me what I've come to feel that the purpose of a sketchbook is at this point, which is a place where I'm not afraid to make mistakes, and I'm not afraid to just try things. And what I did here, this first day's worth of painting, was very safe, and was definitely not me challenging myself or trying something new or experimenting with a concept. It was just, okay, here's a comfortable, still very comforting way to do something that I've done before. And I guess I haven't actually mentioned this yet, but I did get out my handmade watercolors today. I think I've been using this palette for like 2 years now, of paints that I have made, and I've slowly been, I had slowly added more colors to it over time, and the palette has been the way it is for a long time now. And after having used handmade paints last time, I was just kind of missing them and wanted to use them some more. And something I really like about the paints I've made is that they're a bit more opaque. So it was really fun to try laying some more saturated colors on top of things, which you'll see a little bit later on. But when I finished after the first day, I just felt like I could have more fun with it, and I didn't need to pressure myself to go, this piece of art doesn't need to be a print. I'm not gonna rip it out of here and try to sell the original, but it would be really fun to document the process for you guys to, I don't know, just to be honest and to share. So in the end, I don't necessarily think that what I did is a technically advanced, perfectly executed as far as like artistic technicality, if that makes sense. Like, I know that there are some ways that the layers got a bit messy and muddy and less distinct, but I did what I wanted to do on this page. So I'm able to look at it and flip through the sketchbook, especially like when moving to a new page or when coming back through it, and go, yeah, this is what I wanted out of this, and it makes me really happy. And also, the page that you saw before this in the very beginning is going to be the Patreon mini print for the month of October, and on the day that this video goes up is actually the last day to sign up for that mini print. So I'm looking forward to making those. So if you want to get a print of the piece you saw on the previous page, you can sign up over on Patreon. Sometimes when I'm working on a painting, my biggest concept that I keep in my mind for what I want out of the painting is just a mix of two particular colors. So with this painting, I really wanted to mix the quinacridone violet that I have and the yellow ochre, which I think is actually like yellow iron oxide, that I have. I really wanted to mix the purple and the yellow to get a really dusty color and then add a hint of red to it. So I would get just something soft. And I did end up using that mix in varying amounts and in different places a lot in this painting, and that was a lot of fun. And it feels really nice to have a space like a sketchbook where you just ask some sort of like arbitrary or like a gut reaction. You ask yourself a question and then you just do it. And it doesn't matter if I mess it up or if I ruin it, because I will have answered the question that I asked. I jumped off I was going to say cliff, but like we'll do something a little safer, I guess, like the diving board. I did it. I made the jump, and maybe I didn't execute the landing properly, but I didn't stand there at the edge and be so afraid that I just backed off and came down and didn't go down, because this is a sketchbook. It's a safe place, approaching it that way as a journey, and as, the steps will be what they will be. It's also really helpful for me as somebody who shares videos to not feel nervous or afraid about sharing the process with all of you, because that's all it is sharing the process. I'm not trying to go, hey, look, here's a beautiful, wonderful, perfect painting. It's just a process. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't, hesitate to share things that I'm not proud of, because that absolutely does happen. Because while I do want to be honest about my process with all of you, I also want to create things that will be enjoyable to watch, and a slow downward spiral as a painting falls apart. And I'm sitting here talking about, I don't really like this. Well, that's not enjoyable. That's not helpful. That's not encouraging to other people. So when I left the end of this painting, I didn't want to go, okay, here's the painting, I guess it's okay. And, it felt safe and comfy, and then leave the video. That was not something I was satisfied with. So in that way, you guys help to keep me accountable and help to push me, because I could have done a lot less with this painting and just walked away from it. And I'm not sure what I would have done if I wasn't planning to make a YouTube video of this process. But the combination of wanting to answer the questions that I asked myself and the artistic goals I set out with just for this particular sketchbook session, wanting to do that, as well as wanting to tell a full story, I guess, with this YouTube video and not leave it in a place that I wasn't satisfied with. Those two things work together in a way that led me to not just leave well enough alone, I guess I would say. And I pushed it, and I'm happy that I did. are at the next day. I was laying in bed this morning at the time of recording this going, okay, I guess I'm gonna do it. I guess I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna make a big mess on that painting that I made. And it doesn't have to be scary because what's the pressure, you know? What the downside is I quote unquote ruined it. But the alternative is I had an idea and I didn't do it and I'm now unsatisfied with a thing that I made. And that feels like a harder thing to accept. And it feels like the worst option, you know, as opposed to going, yeah, I guess I kind of really overworked that, which in some ways I suppose I did, but it helps to learn. You know, I tell this to my kids all the time, that we learn so much from our mistakes and from our failures. Sometimes we learn more from the times we mess up than we do from our successes, because we learned what we did wrong, and it's not even just about learning how to fix things. It's that different successes can come out of a failure. Like in doing something that I originally thought was wrong for this piece, I could have unlocked something that I want to then try in a future piece. You know, I got to experiment with making this piece look more skull-like, you know, like adding a layer of just something that reinforced the skeletal form over top of the face and gave an atmosphere that I like better for this page. But I also got to experiment with laying colors on top of my really dark watercolors, which are more prone to reactivate and to bleed, and they did. And it was actually really fun to play with that effect and to see how that made new, different, varied tones. And in the end, this piece is messier and maybe makes a bit less sense, but I'm so much happier with it. As always, a huge thank you to my members here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. I make exclusive content for both of these platforms every week, and you're welcome to check those out if you would like to support me and this channel further. And thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope that you will sit down with your own sketchbook soon and make a mess and make mistakes and just have fun and ask questions. All right, I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.